In the heart of a stormy mangrove, a mother fishing cat faced impossible odds. Her home was flooding, her tiny cubs clinging to her for safety, while predators lurked nearby. The rain poured relentlessly, and with every passing moment, the danger grew. What would you do if the survival of an endangered family depended on you? While others might hesitate, one woman stepped forward, determined to make a difference. Her courage sparked a turning point, one that would forever change the lives of this mother and her cubs. Because sometimes, a single act of compassion can rewrite nature's story. Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. Today, I'm excited to share a new story with you. Please subscribe us. The monsoon rains had transformed the mangrove swamp into a shimmering, waterlogged maze. Droplets drummed on the dense canopy, their rhythm blending with the croaks of frogs and the distant hum of cicadas. The air was heavy with the scent of wet earth and salt water, as streams of rainwater wove through the gnarled roots of the mangrove trees. Amid this untamed wilderness, Asha, a graceful fishing cat, moved cautiously. Her spotted coat, dappled in shades of gray and gold, blended seamlessly with the environment, masking her presence from watchful predators. Asha had recently given birth to a litter of 3 cubs, hidden snugly in a hollow tree stump elevated just above the waterline. The den offered little protection as the rains intensified. Asha's golden-green eyes scanned the surroundings, alert to every ripple in the water and shadow that shifted in the underbrush. She knew too well the dangers her cubs faced: floodwaters that could rise in minutes, snakes that slithered through the shallows, and crocodiles that lurked just beneath the surface. The rain showed no sign of letting up, and the swelling waters threatened to encroach upon their fragile sanctuary. Asha's instincts sharpened with the urgency to protect her young. Her ears twitched, catching the distant rumble of thunder, a haunting reminder that nature's unpredictability spared no one. In the heart of the storm, survival was a delicate balance, and Asha was prepared to fight for her cubs against all odds. The storm raged on, the relentless downpour cascading over the mangrove swamp like an unending curtain. Within the hollowed tree stump that served as her den, Asha lay curled protectively around her newborn cubs. Their tiny, fragile bodies pressed against her warm belly, seeking comfort and safety. The cubs were helpless, blind, mewling softly as they instinctively nuzzled against their mother. Asha's coat, damp from the rain that had seeped through the den's cracks, glistened under fleeting flashes of lightning. Outside, the swamp was alive with the sounds of the storm, the gurgling of rising water, the rustle of leaves battered by wind, and the ominous ripples on the surface as unseen creatures moved just below. Asha's ears swiveled, picking up every sound, every movement. Her body remained still, but her senses were on high alert. She knew the dangers lurking in the floodwaters. Crocodiles prowled silently, their eyes glinting just above the surface, while snakes coiled in the trees, waiting for an opportune moment. The waterline crept closer to the den with each passing hour, and Asha's instincts screamed at her to act. She nudged her cubs closer, licking their tiny heads to soothe them, though her own heart raced. Every drop of rain seemed to amplify the urgency of her predicament. The den, once a haven, was now a trap, a vulnerable spot that could soon be overtaken by the surging tide. Asha peered out of the den, her sharp eyes scanning the darkened swamp. She knew she couldn't stay much longer. Every instinct urged her to find higher ground, but the journey would be perilous. The cubs were too small to swim, and predators lurked at every turn. As another clap of thunder reverberated through the mangrove, Asha steeled herself, preparing for the battle ahead. Survival demanded courage, and she would do whatever it took to protect her young. Mira crouched under the shelter of a thick mangrove tree, her raincoat slick with water as she peered through her binoculars. The storm had made the usually serene swamp almost unrecognizable, but Mira was undeterred. She had spent years monitoring the elusive fishing cat population in this region, documenting their behaviors and fighting to protect their dwindling numbers. Asha, the mother cat she'd been tracking for months, was one of her most treasured subjects, a symbol of resilience in an unforgiving environment. Through the misty lenses of her binoculars, Mira spotted Asha peeking out of her den. The mother cat's movements were deliberate, her eyes scanning the rising water with an intensity that made Mira's heart clench. Mira adjusted her position for a better view, careful not to disturb the delicate balance between observation and intrusion. She could see the water creeping dangerously close to the den's entrance. The cubs, too young to fend for themselves, were entirely reliant on their mother's instincts to guide them to safety. Myra's stomach churned as she watched Asha's dilemma unfold. The floodwaters showed no signs of receding, and the thought of the den being submerged was unbearable. Yet, Mira knew the line she was treading. Intervening in the natural order was a complicated and deeply ethical decision. Wildlife conservation often required letting nature take its course, even when it meant witnessing heartbreaking outcomes. But this situation felt different, more urgent, more personal. If the cubs were swept away by the flood, it wouldn't just be a tragedy for Asha, it would also mean a devastating loss for a species already teetering on the edge. Myra's mind raced through her options. Could she relocate the family without jeopardizing Asha's bond with her cubs? Would her presence frighten the mother cat into abandoning the den altogether? The rain pelted harder against her hood as she struggled with the weight of the decision. Her instincts screamed at her to act, but her training held her back. Conservation wasn't just about saving lives, it was about preserving the delicate balance of ecosystems. Then she saw it, the water was now lapping at the edge of the den. Asha glanced back at her cubs, her body tense with indecision. Myra's grip tightened on her binoculars. The moment of choice was drawing near, and Mira knew she might not have the luxury of waiting much longer. The rain intensified, transforming the swamp into a treacherous expanse of swirling water and submerged roots. The flood had finally reached Asha's den. Water surged into the hollowed tree stump, soaking the soft bedding she had so carefully arranged for her cubs. The tiny creatures squeaked in protest, their fragile bodies chilled by the encroaching flood. Asha stood over them, her tail flicking anxiously as she realized the urgency of their plight. The den, her sanctuary, was no longer safe. Without hesitation, Asha picked up the first cub by the scruff of its neck and leapt into the rising water. The current tugged at her, but her powerful legs propelled her forward. Mira, still observing from her vantage point, held her breath as the mother cat navigated through the maze of mangrove roots. Asha's movements were calculated, her instincts guiding her to a cluster of higher ground, a spot she had scouted earlier during her patrols. As Asha disappeared into the thick foliage with her cub, Myra's heart pounded. She reached for her walkie-talkie and called for her team. The den's flooding. Asha's trying to relocate her cubs. I'm going to need backup, quiet and careful. Asha returned moments later, drenched and visibly fatigued, but her resolve remained unshaken. She retrieved the second cub and repeated the harrowing journey, her body slicing through the water with the grace of a creature built for survival. By the time she retrieved the third cub, the water had fully engulfed the den. Myra's binoculars revealed the exhaustion in Asha's movements, her legs trembling, her breaths labored. The mother cat was running out of time and strength. It was clear to Mira that Asha needed help. Carefully, Mira and her team approached the den's vicinity, keeping their movements slow and deliberate to avoid startling the mother cat. Using her knowledge of fishing cat behavior, Mira signaled to the team to position a covered crate nearby. If Asha showed signs of distress, they would retreat immediately. Asha emerged from the water one last time, her third cub nestled safely in a patch of dry land. But as she turned to retrieve the last cub, her legs buckled slightly under her. Myra's instincts kicked in. With a swift but gentle motion, she waded into the water, her rain-soaked clothing clinging to her as she moved toward the submerged den. Asha froze, her golden-green eyes locked onto Mira. For a tense moment, the swamp was silent except for the patter of rain. Then, as if understanding Myra's intentions, Asha stepped back, her body low and defensive but not hostile. Mira reached into the den and carefully scooped up the final cub, cradling it in her hands. She moved slowly, placing the cub in the covered crate. Asha followed Mira, her gaze never leaving the crate. Once Mira set it down on higher ground, she stepped back, watching as Asha approached. The mother cat sniffed the crate, her sharp eyes scanning the surroundings. Then, with a soft growl, she carried the cub to join its siblings, tucking them all into the safety of the dry nest she had created. Myra's team watched in awe as Asha, drenched and weary, curled around her cubs, her body shielding them from the storm. Against the odds, mother and cubs had survived. And for Myra, the delicate balance between intervention and instinct had held firm, leaving her with a profound sense of hope. As the rain began to ease and the storm's fury subsided, the swamp revealed the aftermath of its relentless downpour. Asha, her sleek coat still drenched, stood watchfully over her relocated cubs. Myra and her team observed from a safe distance, ensuring the mother cat had the space to settle into the new den. The elevated patch of ground they had identified earlier provided a secure haven, shielded from the rising floodwaters. Asha's movements were cautious as she sniffed her surroundings, her instincts on high alert. One by one, she nudged her cubs closer, grooming their soaked fur with tender precision. Her maternal vigilance was unbroken, even as exhaustion weighed heavily on her. Each small movement seemed to reaffirm her resilience, a testament to her determination to protect her young. Myra watched in quiet awe, her heart swelling with relief and admiration. She couldn't help but reflect on the fragility of this moment, the delicate balance between survival and loss, between nature's instincts and human intervention. In the world of conservation, every decision carried weight. Intervening too much risked disrupting the natural order, but doing nothing in the face of such dire circumstances felt equally unforgivable. Today, Myra had walked that fine line, and the outcome felt like a triumph, however temporary. As the cubs huddled together, their tiny bodies warmed by their mother's protective embrace, Myra thought about the future. The fishing cat population was perilously low, their habitats shrinking with each passing year. Asha's survival and the survival of her cubs weren't just a personal victory, they were a symbol of hope for an entire species. This moment underscored the importance of every action taken to preserve wildlife, no matter how small or challenging. The team began to pack up their equipment, leaving Asha and her family to adjust in peace. Myra lingered for a moment longer, her eyes locked on the mother cat as she curled around her cubs. Asha's unwavering care, even in the face of such hardship, was a reminder of the extraordinary strength found in the natural world. As Myra turned to leave, a sense of quiet satisfaction settled over her. Today had been a victory, but she knew the fight for Asha and others like her was far from over. For now, though, she took solace in the sight of a mother and her cubs, safe and together, defying the odds in a fragile and beautiful ecosystem. The storm had tested every ounce of Asha's resilience, but she had emerged as a testament to nature's unyielding determination. Her courage in the face of peril and Myra's thoughtful intervention had created a moment of extraordinary harmony between wildlife and humanity. Asha's cubs, nestled securely in their new den, represented more than just survival, they were a symbol of hope for a species fighting to endure. For Myra, the experience was a poignant reminder of why she had dedicated her life to conservation. Each choice she made was a step toward preserving the delicate balance of ecosystems, where even a single life could ripple outward to affect countless others. Watching Asha tenderly care for her cubs, Myra felt a profound connection to the natural world, a reminder of humanity's role not as a disruptor but as a guardian. As the sun began to break through the clouds, casting a golden light over the swamp, Asha and her cubs ventured out of their den. The cubs, now safe and curious, explored their new surroundings under their mother's watchful eye. It was a scene of quiet triumph, a reminder that extraordinary outcomes are possible when compassion and nature align. In their survival lay a story of hope, resilience, and the enduring bond between humans and the wild. If this story touched your heart, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel.